Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland, a North London Derby special. I'm Gimli, and tonight I'm joined by. First up, he's hairy, he's Larry, and if you're a pretty lady, then he's also very starey. It's Danny the GFP. Nearly fucked that one up.
Oh, just don't ask me. Has any member of my family locked my keys in the boot of my convertible car and cost me 120 quid to sort out? Just don't ask me that, and everything will go swimmingly.
I had the story yesterday. I have to say it's not really a very pleasant one.
Still not even had a fucking apology.
Have you not?
No, 120 quid that day cost me, and I got a shitty mug that says "Grumpy Old Git." Well, thank you very much.
Right. Next up, joining me all the way from sunny Poland, it's Steve, Mr. Lord Hillwood. How are you, fella?
Yeah, I'm recovering. My melon head has now receded. My face is back to normal. I'm still drugged up on antibiotics and at home in my shorts. But yeah, apart from that, fine. Apart from seeing the Champions League draw.
Which we'll discuss in a second. Right, next up, and back by popular demand, it's our angry Venezuelan, John.
Hello, hello.
And how are you this week?
Doing well. I took all the way till Tuesday off to deal with this transfer hangover and in our North London Derby.
Fantastic. We've also got something very special planned for Monday, haven't we?
Yeah, we have a very good lineup of I wouldn't say influential because we don't influence anything but ourselves.
Sadly true.
Usually under the influence.
Exactly. But we have some very informative gooners keeping us up to date all day during the transfer window, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We'll be explaining a little bit about that later, so stay tuned for more on that. Next up, making his debut on this podcast, one of the nicest guys you'll ever wish to meet. You'll know him on Twitter as Gary Prince. Hello, Gary.
Hi, mate. How you doing?
I'm not too bad. It's a pleasure to have you on making your debut.
Yeah, pleasure to be on. Thanks for asking.
Oh, well, we hope you enjoy it and we hope you'll come back. Yeah. Right. And finally, joining us for a short time this evening, and this is a very special one, which I can assure you has been last minute because this podcast is normally recorded at around 7 o'clock, but we're doing it at around 10 to 6. It's David, ex-midfield hardman Hillier. Hello, Dave.
Hello, guys. All right. Nice to be back again. It's been a little while. A few things have happened in between, and not enough has happened in between as well. So it's, a few things to talk about.
No, we had you on the old one, and people love what you say, so we understand you're going to be part of this one and help us out here, there, and everywhere.
I'm always there for you. Whenever you want, you can always get a little bit of chat from me. So, yeah, always happy to talk about Arsenal with Gooners, because club I love. So there we go.
Right, thank you. Seeing as it's a North London Derby special and we've got David with us, one of the first things I'd like to ask is what is it like to play in one as a player?
Well, I think from a player's point of view, it is the biggest game of the season. There's no doubt about it. Whether it was a cup final or anything else you're playing in, you're playing for that pride. You know, that side of your city or whatever, or you know that you're playing for that shirt against the rivals. And I played in a couple of derbies. I played in the Bristol one. I played Portsmouth, Southampton, but I don't think anything really measures up to the big North London derby. Not at all.
Do you think there's any added pressure when you step on the field for a derby?
I think there is definitely. I mean, for a homegrown player like myself, you got to remember I was having derbies when I was 14, playing against their schoolboy side, and then as a youth team, I was playing against them as youth players at derby. Then in the reserves, then in the first team. And everyone had as much bite and as much meaning. I mean, you know, we'd be slagging off the Tottenham lads a couple of weeks before, and we used to go out of them because some went to the same college as us when we was at King's Cross College, and we'd have good banter with them. But from a couple of weeks before, the build-up starts, and everyone knows that, you know, the first tackle you get in, you got to go high. That's a rule, and you got to let them know you're there. You got to win the right in the first few minutes, you know, and claim the ground. And, you know, when we used to play against Tottenham, well, it used to be very, very feisty, to say the least.
And what's the crowd like? Is there a bit of an added bite to the crowd as well?
Yeah, I think there is. The North London derby was a bit different because when I played for Bristol Rovers against Bristol City, every week they look for each other's results. And, you know, if City had a bad result and and Rovers had a bad result as well, the Rovers fans would take the pee out of the City fans just because of their result, even if they weren't playing against them. I don't think that really happens in the North London derby from a player's point of view. We weren't concerned how they did the rest of the year against other teams and that. We was concerned about how we did against them, because we knew that the fans can carry that for the whole season, that one game, and just take the pee out of the other fans every week when they meet them in North London. And it just brings you big points of slagging off points, if you like. You've always got one over on them for the season. I think this year's one carries a big, a big prize as well, obviously, because Tottenham are probably playing the best they've ever played, if I'm allowed to say that on this, which makes it interesting. But we'll still go out and give them a good hiding, I reckon.
Do you know how many times you played against Spurs in North London derbies? I've just checked and found out your stats.
You tell me, because you know what my memory's like. I know I came on at White Hart Lane, and Gazza nutmegged me.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. He didn't get it on the other side though, because he was on the floor after he nutmegged me.
Well, your first one was that's the best way to leave him. Your first one was the 12th of January 1991, 0-0 at the Lane, and that one you come on for Paul Davis.
Yeah,
and then in total you played 6 times, including the 93 semi-final, which we won 1-0, and you only lost 2.
Yeah, I didn't have a bad record. There you go. I didn't realise I played that many of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I've just checked.
Yeah, but I mean, in all honesty, I didn't really have a bad record in the team when I played. A couple of people have sent me some stats, and we didn't lose that many games when we played. I mean, we didn't score many goals and create too much from midfield. It was all the forwards that done the work. But I was a defensive midfield player, and that was my job. And I suppose derby games are made for people who like a tackle and like to snap into the other team, because the manager will set you up before the game saying, make sure you go and let him know you're there. Make sure you let him know there. Well, George Graham would have. I don't know whether Arsene Wenger does that now.
You go make him a cake.
He probably says, get the ball and pass it around him and do this and do that. But yeah, so from my point of view, I was always, I wouldn't say a key player, but I was always, the manager always got hold of me and said, sit on him, do him a couple of times, have a few bites at him, make sure you let everyone know that they're in for a hard match, and it makes space for other people on the pitch.
So is there any members of the panel that want to ask David a question?
I'll take one. I wanted to ask if, since he grew up playing in the academy and then the youth reserves, were there any players that on the opposite side that did the same progression and that you ended up going against in the derby?
What, when and they progressed into the first team as well?
Right, for Tottenham. Mm-hmm.
I don't think there are any. The only player I played, David Howes. I played against him in the youth team, but I was a bit younger than him, and I'm not sure if he actually played in the derbies when I played. But no, I don't think there was any real no players that really made it from Tottenham from the youth team and then played against us in the first team.
Okay, or any player through the years that you were at Arsenal that it became kind of like a rivalry that you knew before you stepped on the pitch that during the match. He's going to feel something. He's going to get a kick or he's going to get a hard tackle during the game.
Well, I did have an argument once when we was out in a nightclub in North London with Terry Fenwick, and I remember when we went to the Lane. I remember I'm gonna have Terry Fenwick. That's the first thing I'm gonna do. And it's interesting because he was my manager. He brought me to Portsmouth a few years later, but I've actually got a picture from the derby game with Terry Fenwick holding me by the scruff of the neck after I've obviously just gone right through him, and Ian Wright in between us both going to get him in the face as well. So I obviously did what I set out to do and got Terry Fenwick in that game. But I didn't like him, Fen. He was a cocky Geordie lad, and he used to be a bit big time when you was out in town and that. And because it was a small place, we used to go to the same places. So I do remember that clearly, having an argument with him one night and thinking, next North London derby, mate, you're having it. And the worst thing was I had to go all the way up into the attacking third to get him because he was a defender, and that obviously gave me a nosebleed straight away because I never used to go up that far up the pitch. So I was already a bit disorientated when I went up there. But I still managed to get him. So yeah, every cloud, as they say.
And I know you've got something to say, Steve.
Yeah, Dave. In those 6 derbies you played against them, in the first team, who would you say was the biggest "see you next Tuesday" on their side to play against? For you personally?
Well, for us, right, even from the youth team, all Tottenham players will see you next Tuesdays because they used to give them like convertible cars when they were 17 and 18, and they used to have sponsored boots, and we didn't have none of that at Arsenal. We was like working class, and Tottenham thought they was a sort of above us. They'd all have the hairstyles where Pat Rice made us all get short back and sides. And they'd all have long hair and this, that, and the other, and be a bunch of posers. Basically, that's what we used to think. Tottenham are a bunch of posers, and we're hard working, and we're Arsenal. So yeah, all of them. If you could take anyone out and you'd have him and you'd done them properly in the game, that's a good scalp. So you didn't really target anyone in particular. You targeted all of them. They was all what you say. See you next Tuesday. Was that the word you used?
So it was a sort of an anachronism. Did anybody? I mean, obviously, like I've heard stories of Arsenal players, and obviously you said you went to college with them. Some of the others went out drinking together. I mean, was there ever any sort of like horrendous pranks played on Spurs players by Arsenal players?
Not that I'm really aware of. Football's it's a funny old game, but we are pretty much friends off the pitch. Everyone goes out, and you was all cast from the same mould. You all come up, done the same way. You done apprenticeships, which were hard, and you done, you worked your way into the first team, and there weren't no real massive money signings then. There weren't no egos, except that Tottenham were just always posers. That's the biggest thing that stuck out in my mind. They always thought they was a little bit better than us, yet they never won a trophy, and they never had anything to show for it, even in the youth leagues. They pose around, but they wasn't the greatest team. There was a lot of good individuals, weren't the greatest teams. But as for any pranks, no, I don't think it really carried on like that after the match. It's all pretty much good fun, and we sort it out on the pitch.
So as a North London derby, is there more emphasis put on it by the manager to win it?
I don't know if it's more emphasis to win it, but definitely to show your dominance over the other side. When I played down at Bristol Rovers, Bristol City, we had Ian Holloway, and he was so blue, it was unbelievable, and he hated City, and he would be the most wound up person in the dressing room. People would be restraining him in the dressing room before the game. He was that bad.
But other managers encourage you as a player though to see your manager that wound up.
Yeah, because I loved Ian Holloway. He was my cup of tea. He was a grafter, a tackler, a worker, and that definitely set me up before the games. I mean, just to give you an example, I think I got booked in the first 30 seconds in the Bristol City derby, and the lad I put out over the boardings from a throw-in. Don't know how I did that. Someone passed it back to him from a throw-in, and I just went and took him out. And I did it in the first 30 seconds of the first half, and I did it in the first 30 seconds of the second half. But luckily, I didn't get sent off. But that was all because he wound me up so much before I walked out on the pitch. That was all I had in my head. Like, the red mist was down. I was getting someone straight away because that's what he wanted. The team. He wanted to start the team off on that footing. Go out there and be right in their faces. With George Graham was a little bit different because we always had a game plan. We'd have had scouts out watching their team, and it had been a bit more cultured, a bit more sort of knowledge behind it. So he wasn't really just going out willy-nilly. But from the same point of view, I think yeah, you just wanted to go out, and it was like get a piece of them, and then they'll give you a bit of space.
So do you reckon the players today want to win it as much as you did back in your day?
Yeah, I think the Arsenal players do, because you can only see their reaction at the end of last season when they, because I don't think it was about getting fourth place when everybody says we were celebrating fourth place Champions League. No, we weren't. I think them players were celebrating that they finished above Tottenham. That's what I think they would, because I think it is drummed into them, through the social media sites and all the stuff that they read and all the magazines and everything, that's a big game in North London, and they're a good bunch of lads, and I think they want to win for the fans. I don't think they're greedy players who he's got there who are just in it for themselves, and they know how much that one game is important to the fans. So I think that, yes, definitely it will mean as much to them beating Tottenham on Sunday as it did to me when I was playing.
Is there anything that sticks out in your memory of past North London derbies that you can tell us about that was significant to you?
Well, the only real thing the two things that stuck out are obviously the Fenwick instance, but I've got a picture of that, so that kind of reminds me of it clearly. And the one when I came on at White Hart Lane and went straight over to the right hand side, and the boss said, "Go on." It was, like I said, it was 0-0 at the time. Didn't want to lose the game, and Gazza was running the show a little bit, and he said, "Just go and mark Gazza, go and sit on him." Because obviously Paul Davis was more of a player, and he'd drop off and get the ball, and no one was getting tight to Gazza, and I got really tight to him just on the right hand side by the line, and he nutmegged me. The ball obviously just rolled on a little bit, and then for some reason Gazza didn't get there, and my leg just accidentally bumped into his and put him on the floor. So that stood out, and all my mates said how brilliant you did that. I'd have rather seen you do that than score a goal, take Gazza out. So yeah, so that was one of the other things. But then I got reminded of not playing against them in the semi-final when Mickey Thomas marked him. They said, "Oh, if you'd have been marking him in that one, maybe you'd have done the same to him then." But that's just the way it goes.
Dave, have you ever played against Clive Allen?
I played against Clive. I played against. I'll tell you what, taking it just a little bit further, I played against Paul Allen, Clive Allen, and Bradley Allen in it was a corporate 6-a-side 2 years ago over near Cockfosters. That was just like a North London derby. There was Arsenal and Tottenham, but it was just like going back in the day. Everyone and Paul Allen went through the back of me. Paul Allen, he never made a tackle in his life, and he's like 45 years old, and he's going through me 15 years after we both finished football, and that's how much it still meant. But just for the record, he didn't hurt me, and when I picked him up, I did pinch his neck really, really hard. So, yeah.
Is Clive Allen as big a twat as he comes across on the telly, though? This is the question I'm getting being asked on Twitter.
I think what you see is a media version of Clive Allen. He's a very, very quiet person off of the pitch. Or away from football. He's not big time at all. He's quite well spoken. No, he's genuinely quite nice. I hate to say it, really. He's not a bad bloke. On the telly, yeah, I think it's just TV verbal diarrhea, isn't it? It's just they can't help spilling out all that shit.
I'm just looking at one of the games from February 1992. It finished 1-1 at the Lane, and Gary Lineker played. That must have been one of the few times you played against Lineker. Do you remember much about him, or was he? I always thought he was a really nice footballer, and I just saw the "Who Do You Think You Are" with Gary Lineker, and I liked him even more. And I feel dirty for liking Gary Lineker. Am I wrong?
Oh, we've all got asses, Dan, haven't we? If yours is a little plush toy of Gary Lineker laying next to you in bed at night, then that's your choice, isn't it?
Easy, Tiger. I'm not quite going that far, but I know what your memory is like. So I know you won't remember the exact game, but do you ever remember playing against Lineker?
Like I said, all that was you can't pick out single games here and say what happened in that one. How was that? Like I said, they was all games. It was just a game every Saturday, and you found out who you was marking on a Friday. That's the way we used to work. But it was all good. It was all good.
And Gary, you've been very quiet so far this evening. Is there anything you'd like to ask or anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, just read Dave. Terry Fenwick, did you have a drink down his pub then in Bethnal Green, in the Camel? Because that was that's where I'm from, Bethnal Green, and all the Spurs players were in there after the 91 semi, and they used to use it a lot. I didn't know whether you guys ever went down there as well.
No, I never personally went there. I was in, I think it was like China Whites or somewhere like that up in town, or what China Whites used to be, and that's where the argument with him happened. But no, I wouldn't go down any Tottenham drinking spills. I won't go down their places.
No, because also they used to frequent Hackney Road quite a bit as well. Because I remember seeing Mr. Clements in quite a few of the pubs down there as well on a Thursday night. Worse for wear quite often.
Yeah, well, that was the culture then, wasn't it? I mean, we all went out, and even on a Friday night, sometimes the gaffer he'd phone everybody up on a Friday night, George Graham, and make sure you was in. I mean, that's great, isn't it? Now you're obviously in a hotel probably the night before, even home games and stuff. I'd imagine they're in hotels and stuff. But back then, that's what it was. We played a game, I think, against Wimbledon on a New Year's Day, and at 12 o'clock we got a phone call in our room from George Graham. He said, "Look, do you all want to come downstairs? I've got a few bottles of champagne for you all to have a drink." This was, we had a game 12 hours later. It was a midday game. So that was just the culture back then.
Do you also want to tell people my amazing stat that in Dave Hillier's first 24 games for Arsenal, they only lost once? That's the kind of magic that we need back at the club, and that was a fluky 2-1 loss at Chelsea. The Swines.
Fluky. Was that when Mark Hughes scored? Did he score in that one?
Kerry Dixon and Graham Stewart. Oh, that was the only game we lost in the unbeaten run, I think, of the 90-91 season. We lost one game away, didn't we? Yeah. So that was that one.
Well, we've just signed Flamini today, so there's every chance that Dave could get asked to put on his boots again.
And now we just heard Louis Beaumont. Go on, Dave.
No, I did hear that we'd signed Flamini, and I thought, is he that world-class player that they've been looking for? Is he the one that left because he weren't getting enough money? And then they've obviously paid him it to come back.
He's only on 50 grand, 2-year deal with an option for a third. Only, bless him.
But the thing is, everybody moans about players like Diaby and Fabianski being on 50 grand a week, and then they go and sign someone that's coming on exactly the same wages. Is it too much for a player of his caliber?
No way.
Do you think?
Especially with him being a utility player. He can cover at defensive midfielder. He can play a holding role. He can cover at fullback the way he did in 2006. I think he can play a variety of roles. Plus, he's not afraid to get stuck in. He's a player that will take your leg out, and I think we need a little bit of that.
He played for the Champions League final season that we were in. What was that, 2006? Wasn't it? He was playing a left back, wasn't he, for a lot of that season in those games, and he did very, very well indeed. He deputised very well.
Yeah, he did.
We've got two left backs and we've got two right backs though, haven't we? I mean, and Aaron Ramsey, you look at his stats. He made more tackles than both our centre halves last year in the midfield. So they made more interceptions, but actual tackles than that, he was our best defensive midfield player, really.
I was going to say, you talking about stats. We understand that you've got a show coming up on Arsenal TV.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I'm spilling out stats. I've been eating them for the last 6 weeks, literally, and they're coming out of my skin. We've got a new show on Arsenal player called The Arsenal Assessment. It'll be with myself and a presenter, stroke journalist, once a month, just going over the previous games, previous 4 weeks' games. And then what we're going to do is we have one little section where they sort of scoop me off into a special effects part of the studio. And we've got like a little pro zone area where we're going to do some stats on one particular player, follow one player, look at a couple of parts of his game, his contributions to the team, what it means to the team, and hopefully it goes well, and we'll start doing it as more of a regular feature every couple of weeks. But at the moment it'll be once a month, and I'm really looking forward to it. And the Arsenal player at the moment is free, as I hope you all know. You can all just log on, register. There's no joining fee anymore, so you can get all the interviews and up-to-date stuff, and look at the interviews of Arsene Wenger and player interviews and bits and pieces, video clips from the training ground. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be it's really good for me, because I'm trying to get into the media and trying to sort of improve that side of myself. So I'm really looking forward to it.
And is there any players that have stood out for you so far this season?
I think without a doubt, Aaron Ramsey. I mean, he's going to be the first player we feature at the end of next month. But just his contributions, he just stepped it up a little bit. He was there last year. I mean, if you look, he was in the top 3 passing combinations in nearly every game he played. So what that means is whoever Arsenal played, the player that had the most passes on the pitch would have passed to Aaron Ramsey more than anyone else and received the ball from Aaron Ramsey. That's how influential he was. You can lay him up against any other player in our team and any other player in any other team in the league, and he stands out as one of the top combination of passing players in the league. And I think this year, looking at just a couple of games we played in the Champions League, the playoff, and a couple of league games, he's already raised his averages. I think he was 85% passing accuracy last year. He's 88 at the moment. He was making a pass every minute and 10 seconds last year while he was on the pitch. He's now making a successful pass, every minute and 5 seconds. And his passing is 20% more advanced than it was last year on the pitch. So he's pushing forward, and that just shows with the goals he's got. He got 1 goal last year. He's got 3 now. So he's moved his game up the pitch a little bit while still being able to do the defensive role as well, because he's still got the most tackles. He's still got the most defensive recoveries in the team. So he is really a box-to-box midfielder now, which is what we want. And the other interesting fact, I know it's another stat, but his average position on the pitch is within 5 metres of the centre spot. So he always recovers to the middle. Whether he makes a run out to the right wing, he always gets straight back into the middle instantly. And that's just fitness and confidence and, the trust from the team, because he's the key man in there, especially with Arteta out now. He's going to be key for us.
Do you think that he's improved because of Arteta and just being around that kind of professionalism week in and week out? Because if you would have said these stats a year ago, I don't think anybody would have believed you.
No, I think, and I think Arteta himself has, because he sat in that deeper role as well last year and became more of sort of the older player, the old experienced general. I think you feed off of that. Ramsey's fed off of that. He knows what's expected. And I would imagine Mikel Arteta off the pitch, while he's not playing, is doing as much directing as he can, really trying to help Aaron Ramsey, really saying, little bits of his game, what he can help him do. So I think, he would have definitely rubbed off on him and improved Ramsey's game. And, Ramsey would have been watching what Arteta does and, been trying to emulate that. So I definitely agree. He's been influenced by him. Anyway, listen, it's time for me to get my boots on and go training. So I'm going to have to love you and leave you, I think, guys.
Okie dokie. Just before you do leave us, would you like to give us a prediction for Sunday's game?
What do you want it in? Yellow cards or goals?
Goals, please. And
first goal scorer.
First goal scorer, Theo Walcott.
Yep.
I think he's due a goal, and he'll get the ball inside the fullback. He'll cut across and smash it in. And I think we'll win 2-1.
Ooh, cheeky.
Oh, I like that one. I do like that one. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, Dave. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience of what it's like playing in a derby and being around the team. Hopefully you'll come back on and join us very, very soon.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, lads. And you guys who were joining in on the call, nice to meet you all. First time I've spoke to you. So,
likewise.
Get to chat again. No problem. Give us a call on the Arsenal assessment on the phone in or on Arsenal player after a game.
Yeah, I'll ring you up, Dave. Don't worry about that.
Not you. You'll be effing and blinding, and we'll have to bleep you out.
Blocked before it even started. Story of my fucking life.
Did you not know that Gav's the Bergkamp Wonderland official spokesman, and he'll come on, and he's the only man that can fit 3 C words in a sentence?
in a second, you mean?
Yeah. That's
Just before I go, I just wanted to ask Danny if he had any problems with getting his keys out of his Mercedes this week.
No, none at all.
I'll speak to you later, guys. I'll leave you with that one.
See you later, Dave.
Cheers, Dave. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.
So, David Hillier, everybody.
What a lovely bloke.
Yeah, he is. He's a really nice guy.
And he's the only one that I'd let come on here and plug the club.
Exactly. And I will say, go and have a listen to his, or go and have a watch of his show, because I know he didn't explain it in much detail there, but it looks to make very good viewing, I think.
Yeah, I'll put a link up to the Arsenal website, which I have no problem with the Arsenal website or Arsenal in general. So just want to make that clear in case they're listening. And thank you very much for employing Dave.
What part of the site will that be on, Danny? Just so people know where to go in and click.
Arsenal player.
Fantastic. Right, so we'll move this on then, and I want to ask you about your memories about previous North London derbies, and I'll go straight to Gary.
Yeah, for me growing up, especially growing up in East London, it was just, they weren't really a rival. It was just because in Bethnal Green and everything, it was more West Ham, and there was a huge Arsenal enclave anyway, and we used to play them and everything, and plus sort of 70s and mid-late 70s, they were rubbish as well most of the time, getting relegated, and that then I suppose the intensity got more and more as it went into the 80s, and well, one of my abiding memories is as I think it was 82 after it all kicked off after the game, and we ended up being chased by them to Old Street. Never forget that. There's probably a few of the old timers that will remember that and still wince at that thought. But it was just, and the intensity really grew from there. Just it was it got more and more, and I suppose then you went into the George Graham era, and then the really probably 87 for me was the one abiding memory, the League Cup. Then that's the one that always sticks in my mind as for the with them, and just obviously the debacle at home in the first leg, losing 1-0, going 2-0 down there, and then the comeback, and then the replay, and then the rest is history, really.
And John, what's your favourite memory of North London derby?
Well, it's not a favourite memory as much as it is just a growing disdain and hate for another club, for in a sport that you didn't, that I didn't grow up in a football culture. Obviously, growing up in the U.S., but being exposed to the Arsenal, and then falling in love with the club, and then learning about the history. It's just to have a hate for another team while you're in a completely different country, 3,000, 4,000 miles away. It's a unique experience, and moving to Europe and then being closer to the action, and it's just for me it's the most important game of the year.
You're in Spain as we speak. Do you still get the hype over there as you would do over here? I mean, is it still as intensified?
Absolutely. I go to a local pub called the Queen Vic, and it's owned by a Spurs supporter.
Mitchell.
And so I go there sometimes to watch the Champions League and the Derby, and there's banter obviously, but there's some really diehard Arsenal and Tottenham fans here, and I mean, for me, I don't care what's happening that weekend or the days prior. There's nothing like it.
And Steve, what's it like in Poland? Do you still get the same, feelings over there that you would do over here? I mean, we're lucky to say you come over to England as well. Is the rivalry still as much over there as it is here?
Well, I mean, if you look at the intensity of the two big derbies here, which is Legia Warszawa versus Polonia Warsaw, and Wisła Krakow versus Cracovia, I mean, those fans get in those stadiums. In the morning of those games, they start decorating the places. They start setting up pyrotechnic displays. And, if you saw Legia Warsaw's amazing display before their Champions League second leg qualifying round last night against Steaua Bucharest, which went through about 5 phases of about 20,000 fans in unison, you realise Polish fans don't do anything by halves. We have 2 pubs here where Polish Arsenal fans meet to watch the games. Mostly they're in those pubs at 11 o'clock in the morning, decorating the place with Arsenal shirts, Polish Arsenal flags, making sure the tables are reserved, making sure there's no Spurs fans lurking about. They go and put signs outside which basically forbid visiting Spurs fans to come in the pubs. It's mainly for their own safety. And they start to build up about 2 hours before the game. They all start drinking, the chanting starts. And that doesn't stop until after full time. And even if we're losing, they just keep going. They are absolutely crazy. And but it's not quite the same as the unpleasantness you feel of walking up the Seven Sisters Road, being on offer to all and sundry with various scummy little shits hiding behind the old bill, shouting abuse, looking to bash up a few scarfers and birds on the quiet because they're usually too scared hiding from the real Arsenal to do anything about it.
We actually have quite a large Polish following, don't we? Whether it's because you're on as well, and you're from Poland, but there's some great support for the podcast and of Arsenal in general in Poland.
Yeah, there is. It's actually, I've made quite a point of mentioning a few of the leading lights amongst Arsenal fans out here, and getting them to send in questions, even if they're in Polish, and translating them and answering them. And I've even put up in a couple of the pubs little stickers and stuff, so they know to listen into it. And yeah, it's becoming very popular.
Well, that's always nice to hear. And a big hello to any Polish or Spanish fans that are listening here tonight. Danny,
Hello.
What does it mean to you?
Before I say that, go on that. John, this Queen Vic pub that you go to, is it written in graffiti outside the front of it? Is you going to an archway?
No, they have a standard sign.
Oh, well, 'cause I'm just looking
unless it's changed. Are you looking on Google Maps?
Yeah, it's Carrera Nu de la Rambla.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Bloody hell, that's a narrow street. Oh, it looks warm and lovely, and all the people are smiling. Oh, I'd love to be somewhere warm.
And is Alfie Moon still behind the bar?
Hello?
I don't fuck no. I don't like he can know who the fuck Alfie Moon is.
See, no, I got disconnected there. Sorry.
He asked you, is Alfie Moon still behind the bar? And I doubt very much you watch EastEnders, do you?
Oh, fuck no.
No, nor do I.
It was a very, very lame attempt from humour, and feel free to tweet me and tell me how bad my jokes are later.
But it does lead me into a traditional North London derby joke that obviously Spurs fans will be very familiar with Alfie Moon, because they watch EastEnders while we're playing in the Champions League. Boom, boom.
Thursdays are Spurs days, everybody.
Here we are giving all this stick to Spurs, and I've got my mate here, Lee. He's a Spurs season ticket holder, and he's standing right next to me. He's doing a bit of painting here for me. You got anything nice to say, Lee? Did you hear that?
No.
Yeah, Spurs are going to win the Champions League.
They're always the same old deluded bunch, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah. Anyway, back to the topic. Yeah, my first ever game was the 18th of October 1987. We went to Spurs, beat them 2-1. Nico Clarkson scored first, then Rocky Rocastle scored, then Mickey Thomas scored, and that was for my first ever game. That was just after my 17th birthday. And I come from a family where no one likes football, and I was sitting on the stairs at my mum's, and my dad said, look, if you want to go to a game, I'll take you. You ring up, get the tickets, I'll take you. So I rang them up, bought the tickets on there. I think they were about 10 quid a ticket. And then that was my first ever game, and I just remember thinking, wow, this is absolutely amazing. The noise, the crowd. I don't think I remember a single thing that happened in the entire game, because I think we sat behind the goals, the goal at that time. And I don't remember a single thing that happened, but it was just momentous. But the next Spurs game after that I went to was about a year later, and that was the first and only time in 406 games I'd ever seen football violence, and that it kicked off quite badly there. I think we won 2-1 again, and I think I've been to 18 North London derbies, and we haven't lost a single one.
And you've been known on this show to actually say that you've shouted a fair bit of abuse to players on the pitch at the time. Would you like to regale us of a certain Ruel Fox story?
Well, I live in Manchester, which is near my local team's Peterborough United, so I like to support my local team. And about 5 or 6 years, no, God, the Audi then, so it had been about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, it was Peterborough v Spurs in a friendly, and Spurs won it 6-0. And then... Shut up, dirty yid. He put his hand in the air. And then, so Ruel Fox was playing, and then I sat in the Thomas Cook stand, and then Ruel Fox was running by me and went, "Oi, Fox, you're fucking shit." And he stopped what he was doing, turned around, looked at me and went, "So's your fucking missus." And I thought, oh, how right he is. We're no longer together.
So, Steve, what does it mean to you?
Well, I mean, I've lived in an Arsenal family. I mean, I've got an auntie who's a Spurs fan, and she introduces herself to someone who's an ethnic minority in a mixed race relationship, because she's the only Spurs fan in the family. And I remember at about the age of about 4, my mum's younger sister brought home some really quite flash guy who was driving a Jag, and he was something at Spurs. I don't know quite who he was. And my grandmother shut the door in his face. She said to him, "You're not coming in here. This is an Arsenal house." So shut the door in his face. and the next Saturday, him and my aunt tried to take me to White Hart Lane, but my grandfather intervened, and I was bought a season ticket and frog marched to the steps of the Plimsoll Arms, which is now the Old Triangle, where I sat nearly every Saturday until I was 17, waiting for my wretched father and granddad to sort of fall out of there at 2:45 and run up the road to go in the ground. And that for me, you know, to see that at such an age and be living in, you know, right on the plot in North London and seeing the banter every day between the fans and, you know, how unpleasant it got in the games. And you've got to remember in the late 70s and early 80s, there was a lot of trouble between Arsenal and Spurs fans. And I later went on to work in an advertising agency where nearly everybody who worked in there was a Spurs fan. And I never realised this until I came in to work after we lost the cup semi-final, where Gazza scored that wretched goal. And found my office decorated in blue and white. So, yes, it's a very unpleasant rivalry, to say the least.
And I've just asked on Twitter for some fan questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask a few questions, fresh from Twitter now, and I'm literally reading them as they come through. And feel free to answer any of you that want to. Our first question comes from a very good friend of ours, Keith the Gooner, and he asked, what's your favourite chant? Does anybody have a favourite chant? North London Derby chant?
Oh, I do, but there's no way I can say it. If I do the first part, that chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chiroo, Klinsmann was a something, and now he's a something. That's horrendous. When the first time I heard it, I thought, how the fuck can anybody sing that? It's just so outrageously bad. It was just, I couldn't believe it. But I wouldn't say that's my favourite. That's the most memorable one. But my most favourite one is the double, 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 where they had to come over the tannoy at Highbury and say to us, could you please stop singing that fat song?
Sorry, guys. I'd say for me, it's the old we beat Spurs with 6 reserves and Alan scored again when we was that was, I can't remember what it was now, 80 whatever. Just when it was it was when we was in, no, it might have been 79, I think, when we was at all, or 80, when we had all the cup games. Well, I think we had them on the Monday, and I think we had a cup semi-final replay on the Wednesday, and we put a scratch side out of White Hart Lane and we beat them.
Okay, we'll do this quick fire as well. And the next question from ASC_Glenn, he asked, "What's your best memory of beating the Scum, John?"
It's showing us there.
Okay, yeah, I'm here.
What were you doing?
Sorry. I had the mic on mute, so you wouldn't hear me getting ice from the fridge. Damn it!
Someone's paranoid.
I've had it on mute as I've had 4 bags of crisps and a Snickers.
Sorry. There's so many though. Basically, going back to when I started learning about the history of Arsenal. For me, looking at the old tapes, the 1-0 in '71, without a doubt.
Okay. Right, we'll move.
Sorry, I was just going to say on that one, just on 71, I was there as a 5-year-old with my dad. So
yeah, me
just
too.
In the shelf. But we got there, I think about 2:30 in the afternoon. And my dad, we got in, and so I remember staying on the stool in the corner of the shelf with my dad, and it was just Arsenal everywhere. I can't really remember much about the game at all.
3rd of May 1971.
Yeah.
I would have been 10 then. I went with my dad and my granddad, and I'd never been to a game where there were so many Arsenal locked outside. And when that ball went in, the roof came off the place. That's probably one of the first games I went to. I really remember, but there are other games I remember not because we beat them, but because there were bloody funny things that happened in them. I'll come back to them later, but I still think the one that stands out for me the most recently is the one where we kicked off and Fabregas beat the whole team and shoved the ball in the back of the net in about 9 seconds. I was speechless,
You have to add the 5-2, the first one as well, when everybody had us dead for the league to qualify for champions. Everybody was, talking about Wenger was going to get fired at the end of the season, the whole bit. And that started the comeback for the year as well. I put a video up on my Twitter that you guys remember the guy that does the YouTube videos, Vlad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I put a link to that video because I haven't seen it around lately. And that, you see the comebacks, the Sonia header, the whole bit, and that gives you chills. There's just not another game like it.
I know. I mean, another memorable one. Gary will probably remember. Do you remember the one where we beat him? I think we beat him 5-0, but Brady scored that sumptuous chip, and all you can remember that was, oh, look at that! Oh, look at that! And Tottenham fans our age, that match is a nightmare for them. They hate it.
Right, we'll move on to the next question then. And E.L. Guna, who is at Erin, E-R-E-N, Lawrence, L-A-W-R-E-N-C-E, he asked, do you think Tottenham with their new signings have better ability than Arsenal to challenge for trophies? Steve?
From what I've seen of them so far this season, and bear in mind, it's only a couple of games. Of course, they've bought some players since we don't really know how they're going to fit in, but they seem to be a bit solid, bit lacking creativity, and they can't make a lot of chances, and they're not going to score any goals. I think the fact they've got so many new signings is actually going to not play in their favour. And I think also a lot of those players are not going to understand what a North London derby is about, and they're going to come out in that atmosphere in the Emirates. And in the derby, it is hostile, it is louder, and Arsenal players, as David said earlier, they want to win that game. They know if something goes wrong in this game, fans are going to hate it, and they want to win it as much as we do. I think our players are going to get stuck in, and I think, they might have bought some better shades of shit than they had before, but they're not as good as what we've got at the moment. If we had a full team, I'd say we'd piss them easily, but I think it will be a hard game, but I still think we'll beat them.
Fantastic. And old friend of the show, _armchair Guna, he asked, Spurs player most likely to be cut in half by Flamini? Danny?
Soldado. Hopefully, he's going to be looking for another penalty, and he's going to get fucked up by Flamini, and then that'll be Flamini's only going to play one game for us, and he's going to get a lifetime ban because he's going to do like in that the Bruce Willis film, The Last Boy Scout. He's going to do what the bloke did in that. He's going to take out quite a few of their players and then top himself.
He's going to do like he did against Spurs for Milan when he took out Carlucca.
Yeah, but I think one of their new players, they just bought another one today. In this podcast, we're going to use the name Vlad twice. They bought this Romanian centre-back called Vlad today for £8.5 million, which takes their spending to £95 million, which is fucking unbelievable. But I think Paulinho is going to be good for them because he's been playing for my Brazilian team, Corinthians, and he is a very good player. And I've seen him play quite a few times on TV when I used to have the other satellite channel. Yeah, but he's very good, and he's going to be trouble.
I think for them it's going to be, as Steve said, there's too many players coming at once and to settle in, especially foreign players, foreign league. It's a massive difference, and that for them is the worry. Yeah, and especially with losing a certain Mr. Bow as well, who was their team, to be fair, last season, got them out of so many holes and scored so many goals and created stuff that they've got to replace them goals elsewhere.
I was more worried about Spurs when they had Modric and Van der Vaart and Bale and those players. Listen, this is as somebody on Twitter said the other day, this is an expensive Stoke. I'm not worried about Spurs, to be honest. I think they spent their kitty on a lot of good players, but I don't think that any of them are game changers. Soldado, if you mark him close, he goes dormant in the game, and you saw that a lot during the first two games of the year.
No, definitely. I certainly don't think that we should be worried about them. And I think the telling factor for Sunday is going to be the fact that our team has spent all of the pre-season together. They know each other. The fact that there's no signings, would mean that the squad's already gelled, whereas with the scum up the road, there's lots of them in there. They don't necessarily know what a derby means to the fans. They're all still gelling and learning about each other as players as well. And I think, even though they might have on paper technically a stronger squad, I definitely think they're there for the taking.
Well, I can see Eric Lamela. Not Lamela. Who's the one they just bought from Roma? Yeah, it is Eric Lamela. Is that the one they bought from Roma? Got 15 goals for Roma last season. He's very quick, right-footed. He can play on the right wing. I can see him coming up against Nacho and Nacho eating him up, breaking him into little pieces, and then just leaving him dead on the sideline.
But the question is, isn't it, that would you prefer our best 11? Our best 11 is better than their best 11.
I think ours starting 11, ours have gelled. Having an influx of new players is bad for the team. I agree with Wenger. Who needs new players? We've got nearly 12 fit players. That's all we need.
No, but obviously we need players. That's no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, 11 make it to the pitch, 7 make it to the bench.
Yeah, our starting 11 are brilliant.
Our starting 11 is better than theirs, even with their new signings.
Yeah.
Well, let's just hope another 5-2 is on the cards.
5-0. We don't want to give them 2 goals.
Nah,
exactly.
But there's going to be a load of people putting money on a 5-2 because that's the kind of things that the betting companies will love that, wouldn't they? They'd be doing all kinds of offers at another 5-2, and it's not going to happen.
No.
It's this small club mentality from them, I think. It's probably all Spurs fans putting on the 5-2 just to try and make themselves a little bit of money.
Well, the last time I saw a team go mental from nowhere doing this was Portsmouth, and we all know where they are now. The Harry Redknapp effect. Lovely.
Fantastic. Right, so next up, fellas, I want to speak to you, and I want to find out what you think the scores are going to be.
Oh, dear.
And this is the bit that I think we're going to dread. So, Danny, I'm going to go straight over to you and ask you what you think the score's going to be.
What, are we doing this for the Predictions League?
Yeah, we'll do it for the Predictions League.
Okay, well, I think first goal scorer is going to be a Soldado penalty, and I reckon we're going to lose 3-1.
Really?
Yeah, they're just going to something's going to happen. Jack's going to be right up for. You saw how much stick he took midweek, and he just getting more and more wound up, and he's about ready to burst, and he's going to lose it. These are going to wind him up, and he's going to lose it, and he's going to end up hitting someone. He's going to get sent off, and then we're going to be down to 10 men, and we could beat them 2-0, but I'm just going for the pessimistic. As always, they're going to beat us, which means we'll win.
Fair enough. And Steve?
Hold on a sec. Lee's just said he's going 4-1 Arsenal. That's from a dirty yid. So I might fall back on that as my prediction.
And Steve?
I think it'd be a close game, but I don't think Tottenham will score more than once. And I certainly think the biggest problem we're going to have might be this young, inexperienced ref. It's a derby, and let's hope he doesn't get yellow card happy and send anyone off. But I think we'll do it. I think we'll win 3-1, and I think Walcott is due a game where he opens up on someone. I think he'll score. I think he'll score twice, and Giroud score the other one.
Fantastic. And John?
I'm going to say 2-0 us. Giroud as a goal scorer.
Brilliant. And finally, Gary?
I think I can see them scoring, but I can see it being 3 or 4 because if Santi plays half as good as he played in the week, because he was just, it seems like, because I think it's all the formation's going to be key for us, and that's why I think the issue with Podolski getting injured again, because Santi's wasted out wide, and as you saw in the middle, the last 2 times he's come inside, he was just outstanding. But I still think it can be 3 or 4 because I just think we'll be too quick for them.
And I am going to go for 2-1 to Arsenal, and Giroud is going to have the first goal. But before we go this evening, me and Danny would like to explain what we've got in store for Monday, because we have a little treat for our listeners, don't we, Danny?
Oh, we're going to tickle them under the chin with this one. And we're going to start off at, what time are we starting off at? I've got it here.
We're going to start off at midday.
Ah, that's it. I found it now. Starting off at midday with a little thing with us and a couple of girls, Kate and Amanda from the Gooner Girls podcast. And we're starting off with, is it still us 4 starting at 12 o'clock?
Yep. We'll confirm all the other guests, or we'll leave it as a surprise for on the day. But that's what we're going to start off with. What we want to do is we're going to do 10 minutes on the hour, and we're going to speak about all the relevant moves going on in the day. If there's any rumours about Arsenal at the time, we've got all of the panellists on from the show, plus many, many more. I think it's about 15 to 20 people going to be on in total, isn't it, Danny?
Well, it's something like that. So we've got Jeff and someone else coming on at 1, and 3 o'clock is Steve and another person, and then at 5 o'clock it's going to be Ven and someone else. 7 o'clock it's going to be FK and another, Then at 9 o'clock, it's Chopsy GC and one other. And then at 10:30, we're all going to come back on, and we'll be recording the podcast live as we've all got Channel 405 on, watching Sky Sports News. And we'll all be crying into our underpants as we have signed nobody.
Yep, and it's an absolutely fantastic day of people to keep in touch with the transfer window from an Arsenal point of view, from all of us.
And then in between, all the regulars, the regulars are 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. And when it comes to 2, 4, 6 and 8 p.m, we're going to have 2 other guests and plus us 2. And so there's going to be about 10, 12 segments, each one of 10 minutes-ish, plus rounding it all off at the end of the day. And yeah, we're going to commit Harry Curry. Yes.
Have you got anything you'd like to add, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, listeners will need to know that we're going to actually be recording these hour-long or these 10-minute segments, and we'll be uploading them to iTunes and the website, so you can listen to them straight away. Because obviously, as things progress during the day, things change a lot. So, all throughout the day, people will be able to download little chunks of the podcast, and then later on, when we do the full final show at the thing, it will probably go up, I suspect, early in the morning, and people can sit and cry into their lager or whatever it is they're drinking, listening to us lot rambling on and committing suicide.
So they're all going out separately, and then I shall compile them all as one long tier of festivals.
Yeah,
Festival of Tears.
So you'll get the hopefulness in the morning, and I think we're going to do great business today by all of it at the end, where we're all just sat there, nervous wrecks, crying.
A montage of fucking misery.
Oh dear. One other thing we need to mention is that we have our Facebook account. Sorry to all the people that it fucked up last time, and every single time someone farted you got a message. That's now dead and gone, and if we could get into it we'd shut it down, just that we can't. And so it's facebook.com/the AFC podcast. Go on there, give us a like, because it makes us feel special and warm, and it's like tickling our bellies.
Yep, and also the first Bergkamp Wonderland blog is up on the website as well. So if you go in there, click the link that says Bergie blog, you can see some fantastic blogs. And I read one earlier myself, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, that's very good. I'm just looking at there now, and it isn't there.
Is it not?
No. I forgot to say, Phil got in touch with me and wanted me to put it on there, and I haven't done it yet.
Oh, Jesus.
At the moment, it says the latest Bergie blog is by a bloke called Fred Blogs that goes, Arsenal are still fucked, blah, 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 blah. So if you do go and see that, ignore it. We will have it up there as soon as possible, but I've got to edit this rambling shambles of a podcast, put it all together and get it up by 11 o'clock.
Brilliant. So we'll finish this off tonight then with some shout outs, and as always we'll go to Danny first.
There was somebody I wanted to say hello to, and I can't remember who it was. So rather than Lee's waving his hand, hello Lee.
You're not shouting out a spud on the North London Derby podcast. It's not going to happen. I wouldn't let it happen.
No, I'm sticking in the V's. That's what you have in you, dirty shitbag.
Oh, tell him to get fucked, Danny. Kick him out. Kick him out.
Gimli says get fucked. No, I can't think of anyone to say hello to.
Ask him how Gareth Bale is.
No, I ain't going to ask him that. How's Gareth Bale?
Silence.
Did you hear that?
No.
A rich man by the end of the weekend.
And in a much better team too. I can see he's actually got a little bit of ambition, which is quite nice.
Actually, I will say hello to my good mate Herman, who is at HRVOJEH. He's one of my longest friends on the internet, who's an Arsenal fan, and he's in Croatia. Hello, Herman. Not that you're going to listen, but if you do listen, I'm waving. That's it. That's all I've got.
And Gary, over to you. Do you have anyone you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, just one person really. Old Tweetly Blonde said she calls me now a lovey because I know her on here, so it's just on part of the Twitterati. But said she's born in Highbury Hill, been going over 40 years. So I thought I'd get it in because if she calls me a lovey, then she is as well now. So cause she's mentioned on here now, so she's not getting away with that.
Superb. John.
I have a shout out to Arsenal Caracas. There's actually a Twitter dedicated to all the Arsenal fans in Venezuela, and that he's at Arsenal VE.
Don't you want to mention your blog that went up a couple of days ago, John?
GoonerInBarca.wordpress.com. It's just my ramblings, going against the tide, being semi-optimistic still.
Talking about the Casillas, Benzema, Ozil, and
I gave a little
Di Maria.
a little update of the chances we have, the real chances we have of signing any one of those players.
There you go. Yes, one thing I always have a look at.
And Steve, we do your shout out, and I know you've got a little story for us as well, haven't you?
Yeah, this is something to the older guys, but it's probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen at a derby, and certainly one of the funniest episodes of Match of the Day I've ever seen. People will remember, of course, that the Tottenham manager David Pleat was removed from King's Cross and arrested by the police for curb crawling. And the derby was very shortly after he was charged and found guilty. And there was a massive load of Arsenal fans in White Hart Lane that day. And there was a point in the game where Tottenham were awarded a free kick, and I think it was Waddle and Gascoigne were lurking around the ball talking to someone else. And Arsenal fans had these blow-up sex dolls in their end, which they were batting around, inflated. And one of them just sort of floated onto the pitch, just down behind the goal. And it was a typical sort of, 10 quid sex doll, arms outstretched, huge plastic boobs, open mouth, and some delightful individual had scrawled Dave's bird across her tits. And as this floated across the pitch, all the players saw it and started laughing. Even better, John Motson and Trevor Brookings started sniggering. And the police rushed round the back of the goal to get the offending item out of the way so the game could continue. Whilst all the players and everybody in the ground, including the Spurs fans, and the only one not laughing was David Pleat, who was sat up in the stands. And as they tried to puncture this thing, every time they tried to puncture it, it sat up with its arms open. So, the full top view came onto TV. Obviously, Spurs missed this free kick because the players were so much pissing themselves, laughing at their manager's expense. And all you could hear from the stands was sex case, hang him. And it's one of the funniest moments I can ever remember. And I know Gary was there as well.
Yeah, I agree. It was just amazing. And just everyone was just, well, it was just so hilarious. And just everyone was just pissing themselves. And I said, I'd say for a few minutes when it was going on, the animosity disappeared from both sets of fans. That there was the pure old hatred that was there just seemed to dissipate. And it was just everyone was just laughing. And then the police got rid of it, and then it all went back to normal. It was let the battle commence again, and it did. So, but no, it was hilarious.
And then Pleat was seen at Lost Property after the game.
Yeah.
Well, the funniest thing was on TV when I watched it later with my dad was that when they started to puncture this doll, they cut to Pleat sat in the stands looking like Mr. Guilty of N17, wringing his hands. And all you could see was other Spurs directors just looking at him as if to say, "You fucking pervert." And then Ian Wright later, a couple of years later, Pleat made some comment about him being a dirty player, and Ian Wright turned around and said, "I will not be lectured on morals by a pervert," which was highly amusing.
If anybody's unsure as to what curb crawling is, it's sniffing out hookers.
Yeah, but in his case, 15-year-old ones.
Oh, easy, Tiger.
It's basically what Real Madrid have done to Gareth Bale.
Ouch.
I think he's gone pink. Leave the boy alone.
Right, Steve, your shout-outs.
I got two shout-outs this week. One's to a mate of mine from Somerset, who's a Polish guy called Łukasz Ptak, and you can find him at PTAKU79. Die-hard Arsenal fan and guy from Poland who lives in Somerset. Works hard there. And the other one is to my mate Crafty Gooner, at Crafty Gooner. And last shout out is to all the Polish Arsenal fans who'll be getting ready for the North London derby, ruining pubs, setting light to Tottenham memorabilia, shirts and scarves, and generally enjoying themselves no matter whatever the result is.
And my one shout out for this week, and I'm not going to pronounce it, I'm going to spell it to you. On Twitter, he is at IAMWOJTER. And he knows why. So thank you very much to him. And I'd like to thank everybody on the show this week.
Oh, it's been
Thanks
an
for
absolute
having us.
pleasure.
Pleasure,
A
guys.
pleasure as always.
And we'd love to have you back all very soon. Like I said, look out for Monday's podcast. It's going to be an absolute belter. You can keep in touch with the transfer window throughout the day. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you very, very much for listening. And remember, keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Nanu, nanu, cheeky. Come on, you Arsenal bitches.